all of these pictures, all of these memes that y'all have been seeing about Roux color, that came from us. All right. We started this summer. We made 2023 hot talking about Roux color. That started with stirring the pot. I want y'all to understand that.
Yeah, you went to bragging rights. Let's not talk about you making your own Roux. Let's talk about you making your own stock.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now. Stop cooking chicken for hours in your gumbo.
A vegetarian gumbo would be a very challenging thing to do. You could never make a Roux gumbo vegetarian. The bottom line is like your family's traditions and what you think is correct don't override mine.
Shoot me down.
Ooh,
Shoot
Lord.
me down.
That's the most Louisiana shit I ever heard in my life.
Serving the Pot Podcast, a podcast all about discussing controversial food subjects, historical aspects of food, and pretty much everything else food and cooking related. Once again, let me start by introducing my co-hosts. First up, we have Mr. Barbecue Brand, an aficionado of all things barbecue and a recently featured guest on Food Network's Barbecue USA. Welcome, Barbecue Brand.
Everybody out there in podcast land, open your ears tonight because half of the things that we're talking about you never heard of before.
Next up, we have Mr. Brandon D., a connoisseur of Louisiana and Southern cuisine and a self-proclaimed food science nerd. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. Welcome to this episode number 9. So we've been rolling along. It's going to be a good episode, guys. We've got a lot to cover, a lot of things like Barbecue Brand said you may have never heard of, but you're going to hear it here.
I am your host, KCP, a baking and cooking enthusiast and a lover of all Southern culture, history, and cuisine. Tonight's topic is the final part of our Gumbo series. Tonight we will discuss the unusual suspects of the Gumbo world. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing well. I'm ready to get started.
We doing real good. Go Stros!
Yeah, Astros took the ALDS onto the ALCS.
We're just little excited.
A little bit.
But on to the subject at hand. The unusual suspects of the Gumbo world. So I guess we should start off by talking about the famous one from New Orleans, made famous by Leah Chase, Gumbo the Herbs. What y'all know about that?
I have never had it. I've heard of it. Surprised when I heard of it. I knew it was a New Orleans thing, but I've never had it. But sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really good. I've never had it either, but they've been making it for a very long time. There's only a few people in the world that I know that are still alive whenever this was first started, being made in New Orleans. So this has been made for a long time down here.
A very long time. And what makes it so unique is that obviously it's green. It's made up of, it has mustard greens, collard greens, turnip greens, beet tops, cabbage, romaine lettuce, watercress, spinach, carrot tops. All that is just the green part of it all. Actually, the recipe, you use like a ham stock as your stock. So it
Makes
has
sense.
a very meaty flavor to it. A lot of people think that it's a vegetarian gumbo. Well, Leah Chase is definitely not vegetarian. She's got all kinds of stuff in this recipe, y'all. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's still being made.
Oh, yeah. But before her death in 2019, she would make... So this was famous for being made on Holy Thursday. So the Thursday before Easter Sunday. She made 100 gallons of this gumbo for that day in particular. And that's just insane. It's pretty much almost as famous as beignets are to New Orleans at this point.
It really is. Think about that, 100 gallons.
That's a lot
crazy.
of gumbo.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount of gumbo.
Yeah, so that's Dookie Chase restaurant in Tremé in New Orleans, which I haven't been there either. They shut down for a few years during COVID times, just like most restaurants, but they reopened. They took that time and they remodeled and they're back open. I would love to go there.
Yeah, I wonder if they had closed due to her death in 2019. She died in June of 2019.
Oh, it's been that long. I didn't know. I thought it was only a couple of years ago.
No, I think we have that COVID time warp in our head.
Pretty much.
Probably so, yeah. It was around that time.
What a legend, man. She's cooking till the day she died, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This lady was an absolute legend to not only New Orleans, but to Louisiana as a whole.
Exactly.
I have her book here. The
Dookie
Chase cookbook. This recipe, let's see. So I covered mustard greens, collard greens, turnips, watercress, beet tops, carrot tops. Oh, this has a half a head of lettuce, a half a head of cabbage, a bunch of spinach, onions, garlic, smoked sausage, smoked ham, chorizo. And maybe some of our listeners are not familiar with that kind of sausage. Chorizo is a fresh sausage that has, I don't know what kind of spices it has in it, but it's very unique and it's delicious. It's not widely known.
It's very garlicky. That's the one thing I could say about chorizo. A lot of garlic, a little bit of pepper. Some are spicier than others. Some are mild. Some are hot. You know, it all depends who makes it.
You usually find that in New Orleans at a few different places. I haven't really seen a lot down here in
There's only a few places
Lafayette.
that sell it in like the Lafayette area.
Yeah, I know A-Bears and Maurice sell it. You can actually get it as a side item at a little, what is that restaurant in Breaux Bridge? You can get it like with breakfast or something. I don't know. It's delicious. So continuing with this ingredient list, we have brisket stew meat. What exactly is that barbecue brand?
Brisket stew meat?
Yeah. Is that like the trimmings?
That is. You take some brisket and then your trimmings on that, you turn that into some stew meat, cook that down.
She has a pound of brisket stew meat and a pound of boneless brisket.
Now look, there had to be a distinction made. Brisket can come on the bone. So sometimes you can get a bone-in brisket, that's possible. And probably back in the day, they probably had bone-in briskets that they had to trim up. But stew meat, like a lot of people think brisket, you think barbecue, but brisket is just stew meat also. So you can cook brisket as a stew, and it's absolutely delicious. It's a meat with a lot of connective tissue, and it breaks down to a very tender consistency when you cook it on a low and slow process, like a braise.
Yeah, I mean, smoking brisket that's more of a newer thing. I mean, all that fat and connective tissue. I mean, that's perfect for cooking that down, smothering it, braising it, whatever you want to say. You know,
right?
So,
man, that's a healthy gumbo. That's a lot of greens.
That's a lot of greens. really, really healthy gumbo. What is the main mineral or vitamin that you get from leafy greens? I know iron.
Vitamin K.
Vitamin K. Oh yeah, you can get kicked by that vitamin K in it.
It's a lot of vitamin K. I hope you're not taking any blood thinners.
Oh jeez. So with this gumbo, the roux used is actually made with the drippings of all the meats, like the sausages, cooked down. So you make your roux, so kind of like a butter roux, but this is it's like a grease roux.
Well, it's an animal fat roux. I mean, that's a totally legitimate way to make a roux.
Right.
When you make a true gravy, it's from the drippings of the meat that you roasted, mixed with flour, and then the liquid of the meat that you roasted, and that's what makes a true gravy. Like when you're talking about like a roast gravy, you make a roux with the fat of the animal, and then you add the drippings, all the liquid from the cooking process to make your gravy.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. This sounds good.
It does. It does. I like greens a lot, so that's definitely my jam.
I have a mission to actually make this winter. I'm really down for the challenge to make this because it seems so hearty, you know.
Mm-hmm. And it's different, you know, like
right.
You know, with the standard like roux chicken and sausage gumbo, like I said, it's good, but you know, it's a real heavy dish, and sometimes you want something maybe a little bit lighter, and that's going to have a lighter consistency than a roux gumbo.
This is
when like most people talk about gumbo, that they either think of seafood gumbo or chicken and sausage gumbo. You know, we've talked a little bit about the combination of, you know, shrimp and sausage and things like that, but there's other types of gumbo too, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You know, is the different types of gumbo that make sense. Yes. Things that make sense.
Exactly. Yeah,
because we've ragged on a lot of this crap that we've been talking about for the past couple of episodes, and some of this trash y'all putting in y'all gumbo that don't make any sense. These are some of the things that we're going to talk about that make sense. And we're going to talk about why.
Sense. Yes.
Right.
So this definitely makes sense. It's definitely not your typical gumbo. It's out of the box, but I think that's what makes it so great is that it still fits all those characteristics of like a typical Louisiana gumbo.
Right. Like
So
Louisiana sounds like something poor people made, and they made it good.
right, you just take what you have on hand.
Right.
Maybe you have all these things left over. Maybe this is stuff that was grown in your garden.
Right.
We're gonna
Like
have an episode down the road where we talk about. Oh, trust me, we're gonna talk about this whole Creole and Cajun, and the differences between the two and the similarities. But that was part of the origin of Cajuns. Is they were poor Creoles, so
right,
they made the things that were native to their area where they ended up. So they're using the things out of their garden. They're using the things that they have close to them to make delicious food, and they're putting things together that make sense.
exactly.
And think about when you harvest all these root vegetables, all the turnip greens and the carrot tops and all. When you're harvesting this stuff, I mean, you have to use this in some kind of way, or it's just going to go bad. And it's perfectly good to eat. So, that's what you do. You make a soup out of it.
Right. You don't want anything to go to waste because
Right.
you took the time to grow these things in your garden. You don't want to waste anything from it. So it makes sense,
Mhm.
all of this stuff going together. But I don't know how you could make this, like they call this the vegetarian gumbo. I don't Leah, like I said, Leah Chase definitely did not make this a vegetarian gumbo. I mean, you could get creative on trying to figure out how to make this vegetarian, but why?
I'll say this. A vegetarian gumbo would be a very challenging thing to do. You could never make a roux gumbo vegetarian. Never. There'd be nothing for the flavor of the roux to hold on to. It would all just be roux and water, and really no vegetable could really cut through that bitterness and complement it. I don't think it would work. I mean, you could, let's say you made like a vegetarian okra gumbo. Maybe that would make more sense. Gumbo is a real hard dish to pull off vegetarian. I don't, with the roux, I don't think it's possible just because the flavor profile of roux is so deep and dark and bitter. It's really meant for meat. It's not really meant for serving with vegetables. I mean, have you ever seen like brown gravy on vegetables? It just doesn't make sense. I don't know, like once again, those background flavors of those greens are bitter, and that's meant to complement meat flavors. So if it's not complementing meat flavors, what is it complementing? It's why pork is often paired with greens, collard greens, or the bitter flavors help, and the meat flavors work well together.
That's true. That's true. When you think about putting dishes together, especially Southern dishes, your mind automatically goes to that. I'm gonna get these greens with this, these pork ribs that I'm cooking, or whatever the case may be. And you may not even know, but it's just inherently, it feels right to you.
Right.
But speaking about this vegetarian gumbo, I think it's a vegetarian gumbo in the sense of a Southern person. Like there's not, there's more greens than there is meat in it. Oh man, they don't have no meat. Like they don't have. Look at all these greens I put in here. Yeah, it's vegetarian. I think it's a vegetarian gumbo in that sense.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, it's vegetarian, but I have ham stock.
Like they say like a Texas vegetarian is somebody who only eats chicken. So that's a Texas vegetarian.
Mm-hmm. Not in the 2023 sense, in the 1941 sense. Whenever Leah Chase was making this, you got to think about the time period.
I'm just saying. Oh, and quick fun fact before we move on from Leah Chase. Did you guys know that the Disney movie Princess and the Frog was based on her? Like it was inspired by her.
I did not know that.
Well, now you know. The more you know. She had a lot to do with right? I've never seen it. Now I want to go watch it. But
I've definitely seen it. My daughter loves it.
Right? So, yeah, a lot of that was taken from her inspiration. So, fun fact of the night. So, next time you're on game show and that, now you know if they ask that question. So, moving on to our next unusual suspect. I want to say suspect. I don't know. Suspect is something that is called red bean gumbo. Now, the first time I heard of this was from Brandon's parents. They were like, "Oh yeah, red bean gumbo, that's the best." I'm like, "What is this? Is this another vegetarian gumbo?" Vegetarian gumbo. No, not at all. Have you heard of this before, Barbecue Brand?
I have never heard of this before, not up until maybe a few months ago, or
Really?
probably sooner than that, but or more recent than that. But so wait, hold on, Brandon D, you have y'all made that at y'all house?
No,
Oh,
never.
okay.
It happened when my parents, they went to, my grandfather is from the New Roads area, so the corner of the Boot, Falls River, the river parishes. He was from there, and they went to a reunion or something like that, or a festival, and they tried red bean gumbo, and they never had it before. And my mom and dad, they just loved it.
Yeah, it definitely sounds very unique. So I did a little research and found an article done by NOLA.com, and let's see, Marcel Bienvenu. I want to make sure I get that right. You know, shout out. I don't want to plagiarize anybody here.
Marcy B.
Right. So she did an article on this, and what's interesting is this originated, like Brandon said, the river parishes. So this kind of originated around Gonzales, Louisiana. And the reason why it kind of originated around there is because of the Blue Runner Bean Factory. Y'all know Blue Runner beans.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Louisiana staple. So a lot of beans were grown in that area. So they had a lot of farmers that grew beans. So like we said just a few minutes ago, you use what you grow. You don't waste anything. So basically what happened was you have your Sunday dinner. Most of the time it was like a ham. So they had a leftover ham bone. And what does everybody eat on Mondays in Louisiana? Red beans and rice.
Beans.
So that ham bone went into that red beans and rice. A little bit was left over. What do they make on Tuesday? We got this red bean. These were leftover red beans that went into the pot. That became the red bean gumbo. So that's kind of how its origins kind of came from. At least according to these articles that I read. So
Makes sense.
Right. It makes sense to me. And we all know beans is a great thickening agent. You know, it makes things thick and rich. So I can definitely see how that would make a great gumbo. I want to try this. I mean, I love red beans and rice. So, and in that same sense, I wonder if you could make a white bean gumbo. I mean,
why not?
The argument could be made, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I love white beans just as much as I love, maybe a little bit more than red beans, actually.
Oh, I'm definitely riding that train for sure.
I think everybody. Well, we are all from South Louisiana, so we are white bean people. I mean, that's just what we had more white beans than red beans, and that's just how it is. And I personally prefer white beans.
I do too.
Think about how you make red beans, and then think about how you make gumbo, and then you put the two together. It really makes sense as a hybrid.
It does.
You know, like if the beans are cooked right, you can give me a little bowl of beans without rice. I don't have to have rice. Rice is the vehicle for the beans. So like, I see how that could stand alone as an ingredient in gumbo. Like,
I agree.
It makes sense in my mind.
I'm the same way. Like when it comes to like when my mother makes okra gumbo for me, she's got a lot of okra in it, and I don't even need rice with it. It's good on its own. You know, it's got enough oomph to it where you don't really need
enough ankle bone and all of that. Enough toes.
All that. Toes, ankle bone.
That's right.
A little bit of shin bone in there.
That's see.
So yeah, this chef, J.P. Daigle, he's a chef at the Chef John Folse Culinary Institute at Nichols. His father was a farmer and he grew beans. And it says, JP's father was one of the many subsistence farmers along the river and raised a variety of beans, thus the creation of Blue Runner Foods in 1918. And most of the family's meals incorporated beans of some kind. Well, it makes sense. That's what you grew. That's what you had for your family, right? Mm-hmm. A roux, not too dark, was made, to which the trinity, bay leaves, garlic, and the mashed up red beans were added. Enough liquid, usually water, was added to make a soupy concoction that was simmered for an hour or more. Then, Mama would stand over the hot pot when one by one she plopped in a dozen or so fresh eggs, which were allowed to poach in the hot soup. She stood guard so no one would disturb the eggs cooking. The eggs were poached hard, no runny yolks. I just was there. When I read this the first time, I was there in the moment. I could smell this gumbo. I love eggs and gumbo, like a good hard-boiled egg in a gumbo. I will fight you for that egg, too.
Oh, man.
So,
it's funny. It's funny. I don't really like eggs in my gumbo. I like eggs in like some stews, like a good shrimp stew or something.
right?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. That's just because that's how I always had it. But
Right.
My mom is not a big fan of eggs, so we didn't have eggs in our gumbo. But I don't mind eggs in gumbo. I like it.
Now, I've never had it poached in a gumbo before, like this.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
yeah, poached egg. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know about that. But
Hard-boiled egg, fine.
thing got to be
You do
hardball.
some 8-minute eggs, 8-minute ball eggs, and then drop them in that gumbo where they cook the rest of the way.
Yeah.
That's good stuff right there.
Hardball.
Ball.
BALL. Ball.
That's so funny. I definitely want to try making that one. Like both of these that we talked about, I definitely want to make. Like, this sounds delicious. Like, we should just have, like, put some shorts out of all these little different types of gumbos that we can make. And I don't know. It just sounds delicious to me. Especially with cooler weather, outside right now.
Yeah. It's finally cooler weather. Good God. What a horrible summer.
All the gumbos, all the soups, all that, just comfort. Just bring it. Just give it to me in a big old bowl and a big old.
Now I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm taking shots all episode, right? Because we need some we need some guidelines here. Now we're talking about some very unique gumbos, right? The gumbo zarbs or zerbs, I believe it's pronounced, or something like that.
Zerbs.
There you go.
Zerbs.
The red bean gumbo, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about making gumbo with things that we have readily available to us, things that we're growing, things that we don't want to waste, right?
Right.
Here's the difference, because I know what people are going to say. They're going to come on here and watch this podcast and going to say, well, I'm throwing some stuff together that's in my, I don't want to waste nothing. No, you went to the store. You actively went to the store to buy that pasta. You bought that. You didn't buy that to make that gumbo. You bought that to make some butter sauce with something else. Don't put that in that gumbo. That don't make no sense. You bought that. You didn't go to that. No. That's the That's the difference.
Yeah.
And I think availability is the big thing when it comes to gumbo. What part of the state you're from, the regional differences. I mean, my grandmother grew up on the water. There was always shrimp in the gumbo. It was chicken and sausage gumbo. Yeah, it had shrimp in it, dude. I mean, that's because my grandmother had like 200 pounds of frozen shrimp in her freezer that her family gave, that she got from her family. That we had a lot of shrimp in our gumbos. I mean, that was just part of our tradition. And the bottom line is like your family's traditions and what you think is correct don't override mine. So it's like your family does one thing, my family does another. Somebody else's family does another thing. This doesn't make anybody wrong. It's just difference. And like anything else, everybody cooks to their preference. Some people didn't like okra gumbo, so they never cooked it. So, I mean, we loved okra gumbo, so we always had it.
What Barbecue Brand has said in previous podcasts, like it's exposure bias, what you have been exposed to versus what you have not been exposed to. And just because you haven't been exposed to something doesn't mean that it's wrong. But
correct.
That pasta in your gumbo is wrong. Just so we're clear. That's wrong.
I'm going to say this about pasta sauces. There'll be an episode about pasta. Really starchy sauces and pasta really don't go well together.
No.
Think about that. There's very rare occasions where a starchy sauce goes with pasta. It usually doesn't fit.
Right.
Just because it's starch on starch, it's just not good. No. So,
and I don't think corn belongs in gumbo either.
No, never.
Do not pull leftover corn that you have in the freezer left over from your crawfish boil. That does not go in your gumbo. I know you're trying to get your vegetables in, but make some potato salad.
Think about that. Yeah. Think about this. Make some corn makshu. Make something else.
Right.
But you
think side dish on the side.
Think about the flavor of corn. Corn is a very light, delicate flavor. It's not strong. All that's gonna do to get in gumbo is get lost. You're not gonna taste anything from that.
Who wants some greasy corn?
Yeah, I mean, like the flavor of gumbo is the gumbo flavor is a really rich, deep flavor that really can kind of overpower something like delicate and like corn. Corn is super delicate. It doesn't fit in gumbo at all.
No. It does not belong there. Anyway.
I love getting me a little scoop of corn on the side after, if I got a bowl of gumbo and I got some corn on the side, that's all right.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's hitting my palate different. I'm taking bites of different things at different times. That don't go together. Don't put that in that.
Right. Okay. With in that era of controversy, I really want to rip the Band-Aid off of this. I'm sorry. Potato salad does not belong in your gumbo. It goes on the side.
You get it, yeah.
Shoot me down.
Ooh,
Shoot
Lord.
me down. I didn't say you couldn't take a bite of your potato salad and your gumbo at the same time. That's different. I don't believe that potato salad belongs in the gumbo at the same time.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, but hey, look, I'm not gonna judge anybody for doing that. If that's the way you like it, do it that way.
By all means.
But I like my potato salad on the side. Hey, look, sometimes that mix a little bit of that gumbo with that potato salad comes out great. So I don't mind doing that, but I don't like it mixed together.
Hey, I'm just sitting on the sideline with my popcorn because I don't like potato salad. So yeah, potato salad don't belong in your gumbo. Back off of that.
Shocking. I'm so shocked by that fact. We're gonna make you some German potato salad.
There we go, some katofa salad. There you go. That don't go in gumbo.
That don't go in there either. Let me dust off the bullets. Hold on.
Dodging bullets like Neo after that one.
Right.
There's just I guess it's following too many Facebook groups. There's just so much BS about what goes in gumbo and what doesn't. Oh, your gumbo's wrong. My mama gumbo is better. She got that recipe from some secret sacred tablets that she found carved in Cyprus in the Louisiana swamp or some crap like that. Come on, man! Like we're
like the Gumbo Mormon or something.
Exactly. I'm not. Hey, look. The recipe was carved on some cypress tablets on a tree that was struck by lightning. That was it. Somebody talked to a burning cypress tree in the middle of the swamp, and they gave him the original gumbo recipe. Whatever BS you want to believe. I mean, these things come from family traditions. People just make these things. Everybody has different ingredients. I think there's a lot of regional similarities to gumbo and regional differences from gumbo as well.
Yeah, and here's the issue down here is that we are very prideful people. Southern Louisiana people are extremely prideful, and I'm proud of being prideful. I'm proud of where I'm from. I'm proud of our culture and our heritage, and all of those things. But sometimes we are prideful to a fault.
Yep.
Yes.
We just speak and do, and we don't have the background to really even back up anything that we're talking about. Like that's the problem. Like we were talking about this earlier. Read a book, talk to some people, do some history, open your mind. All of those things.
The book I suggest is the Encyclopedia of Creole and Cajun Cuisine by Chef John Folse, who is one of the highest level experts in the origins of Louisiana cooking. I mean, really, I cannot strongly. I mean, you'll see that this is just a combination of so many different things, and you have to give every single group credit. They all brought something different to the table, and it combined into make what we cook nowadays. This did not develop in a vacuum. It comes from other places. There's Spanish influence, there's French influence, there's African, there's Native American, there's German, there's British, there's French. French.
All
there's
of it.
all kinds of influence.
Louisiana
is
a true melting pot.
It absolutely is.
It really, really
from the
is.
jump. Like this was never like anything super pure to where we created every single thing that you know and love today. This all came from somewhere, and it all melded together to become what we are prideful of now, which is our cuisine. But you have to be truthful with yourself about where these things came from and what it actually is. What is the history behind this?
Right.
So that doesn't mean that something that one person is making is wrong and another person, what they're making is right. There's guidelines, like we've been talking about all episodes. There's guidelines, but it's art, right? And it all comes from different cultures, and that's what it is today. That's what Cajun and Creole cuisine is today.
Oh, right, and I mean, you look at like rice. I mean, rice is from the Spanish. It's not from the French. I mean, name me from French cooking. Name me one famous rice dish from French cuisine. Anybody? They don't really use rice.
No.
That's rice is a Spanish thing. So the influence of rice in Louisiana is Spanish. It's not French. And the reason why they grew rice in Louisiana, because rice is one of the few places where you can actually. Louisiana is one of the few places in the United States where you can actually grow rice. You can't grow it. There's South Louisiana, East Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. That's pretty much the only region that grow that specific. They do grow rice in South Carolina too, but that's all. Rice is a Spanish influence. It's not a French influence at all.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say risotto, but guess what?
Right.
Yeah, that's all. That's from that.
Well, it's Italian, isn't it?
Oh, is risotto Italian?
Risotto is Italian.
Yes.
Paella is Spanish.
Paella,
which is the base.
for sure.
Paella is but I think, you know what? I'm pretty sure Spanish people make risotto too. So, I mean, but
maybe the Italians stole it from the Spanish.
Well, paella is the basis for jambalaya. So,
correct.
This is true. That's the parent dish to jambalaya. Absolutely. So let's jump into another unusual suspect here. What about duck and andouille gumbo?
Oh, that's a good one.
I like both of them things.
Really. I mean, very similar. You think about it, very similar to the concept to chicken and sausage. I mean, it's a poultry and andouille. The thing about it is duck is such a different meat from chicken. Yes. I mean, it really is. It's much, much richer. It's got more. It's got just a deeper, darker flavor to it than chicken does.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah,
and it also stands up to. I think with a duck and andouille gumbo, I would actually go with a little bit darker of a roux than I would use for chicken and sausage.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Duck. It just as soon as you said duck and andouille, I was like dark roux.
That extra bitterness from that dark roux, I think, complements duck a little bit better because duck can stand up to it. Duck doesn't. Chicken can be overpowered. Duck is really, really a very rich and flavorful meat, and it's really hard to overpower duck. And I think it complements that well. That smokiness from that andouille, that works really well with the gumbo too. So. I really think with duck and andouille, you want to use a little bit darker of a roux than you would use for a chicken and sausage. But like I said, it's all up to you. I wouldn't use a light roux, but I mean, I think you'd have to be brick or darker than brick to get that.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That duck, that duck has a place. It's like if you've had duck before, that flavor, what it gives your dish. Unlike chicken, chicken can gotta go a lot of different ways. Hashtag chicken thoughts,
Yeah. Right.
It's been a while.
Yeah, well, duck is a little bit duck is not as versatile as chicken. I mean, chicken is, like you said, it can take any seasoning. Duck's a little bit more particular. It works with it works with some different types of spices, different types of herbs go with it. Thyme goes really good with duck. Also sage. Sage is a good combination with duck. But you have to be real careful with sage. It can overpower a dish. But for a duck and only do a gumbo, a little bit of sage, a little bit of that poultry seasoning probably would help you out a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a wild duck. So you're dealing with a very, very rich flavor. So yeah, I definitely would add some of those herbs. I am not a fan of wild duck at all. Like
a little too gamey for you.
Oh God, yeah. I grew up with that, and like I was. When I had to eat it, it became like rice and gravy, as little juice as possible. Like I can't do it. It just it's too strong for me. And my grandfather, we called him Pop. God rest his soul. He was a huge duck hunter, and he always had a duck gumbo. And I'm like, it usually had other wild things in it. Brandon D can attest to that. Like the first time he ate at my people's house.
So I go over there cooking gumbo. He says, got 2 gumbos. One's chicken and sausage. I'm like, okay. And he says, this next one is 2 ducks, 3 squirrels, and andouille. I was like, I think this is a challenge. I said, I'm going to go for the duck and squirrel one. But
I don't even know if that was
the duck was. Yeah,
that was not andouille. That was
whatever.
Some deer. That was some venison sausage.
Whatever kind of sausage it was. Yeah. So
this is the wild pot over here.
Yeah.
Was it good though? That's what I want to know. Was it good?
Look. So I tried it. I did. The gumbo was cooked very well. Everything. The duck was fine. I didn't care for the squirrel. I'm gonna be honest. I've eaten a lot of wild game. I've eaten all kinds of things. I'll try anything. But the squirrel, I call it shitty rabbit. It tastes like it has the texture of rabbit if rabbit tasted bad. That's what I think about it. Rabbit is actually pretty good, but squirrel has that same kind of texture except it doesn't taste good. That's my opinion. I'm not a fan of squirrel. Just not my thing.
Yeah, I've never had squirrel.
It has the texture of rabbit. It's lean like rabbit, but it doesn't taste good. If rabbit tasted bad, it would be squirrel. It's shitty rabbit.
Right. I've had enough in my lifetime where y'all don't have to eat any. I had to eat it. It was this or the kitchen is closed.
Yeah, basically. No, I'm not a fan of squirrel. I just don't think it's worth it. It's got a bunch of tiny little bones. It's just like I just took it. I tasted it. It was okay. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like it'll make you vomit. It's definitely not. But it's like it's just got
tough.
It's tough and it's tough and a little gamey. It's got the gaminess that rabbit doesn't have, and the texture's fine. The texture is good, but it's just too many small bones, and I just don't think it's worth the trouble. I mean, that's just my opinion.
But
I am a fan of duck, and I'm a fan of wild duck too. But the trick to duck is you can't overcook duck. So if you overcook duck in a gumbo for a really long time, you're really going to turn that duck very livery tasting. So my suggestion is to take your duck to debone your carcass and use your carcass in your to make your stock. Make a good duck stock, and then add your duck later in, and just really cook that really gently. You might want to bake it beforehand so you can render a lot of that fat out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ducks have a lot of fat under that skin.
A lot of fat, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
The last time I cooked duck, I've never cooked the duck gumbo, but last time I cooked duck, it was I roasted it. I had to hit it pretty hard to render that fat under that skin. But
duck's a heavy meat too. It takes a lot of seasoning to season duck as well too. It's not light like chicken, so you're gonna need a little bit more seasoning for a duck.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. So the next gumbo that I wanted to talk about kind of touches on what we were just talking. This is a smoked rabbit and tasso gumbo.
Mm-hmm.
So we encountered this a few years ago. We were riding along River Road by Baton Rouge, and we stopped at this little place. We were on our way to New Orleans, just taking the long scenic route. If y'all haven't taken that road, River Road, it's got all the old plantations, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. But we stopped at this little place, and they had on the napkin holder special smoked rabbit gumbo. I was like, interesting. Did you order some?
I did not. I regret not ordering it though.
Yeah.
That was everything else we had at that place was so good. I was so full. I was like, man, I don't think I could handle some gumbo right now.
It was. I wish I remember the name of that little place, but it was delicious. What we had.
Yeah, it was very good.
But yeah, smoked rabbit. Now I do like rabbit, and a smoked rabbit in a gumbo. Holy moly!
Rabbit makes a very good gumbo.
Very good. Have you ever had it, barbecue brand?
Yeah, I haven't had rabbit gumbo. No, I've had rabbit, but I haven't had gumbo. My next question was going to be what type of roux would you have with that? Because I'm trying to get together in my mind. I don't think you would go that dark on that. That's going to be more of a
probably not. I'd say probably right. I'd say you'd hit it either like a little bit lighter than a chicken, like a brick, or like a just treat it like a chicken and sausage gumbo.
That's what I would
think.
Absolutely, we've done it a few times. I know the Best Stop definitely has smoked rabbit. They keep, and I think in the freezer. And we had gotten one and done it. And actually, my mom had got one, a smoked rabbit for Brandon for his birthday one year.
That's right.
That's the most Louisiana shit I ever heard in my life.
Pretty much.
God, dog.
What you want for your birthday, baby? May I want to smoke la pain? I take my country just too much for barbecue brand sometimes.
Oh man!
I'm guessing my country didn't match yours in that section, huh?
I feel like I need me a smoked rabbit for my birthday now. Man.
Hey, here you go, man.
Done.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was really good. We threw it in there, and I mean, it makes a really good gumbo. I mean,
it does.
Rabbit is really good. It's a nice, clean tasting meat. You know, I don't want to say it's like chicken, but
it's got a slightly it's not like chicken. It's definitely got a different texture than chicken.
Yeah,
and it's got a slightly different flavor, but it's a very light, mild flavor. I mean, I guess. I don't know. It's the texture it would be like to
me it's like a cross between like the white meat and dark meat of a chicken. It's like a
kind of in between.
Like a super mild pork or something like that. Very 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 mild. But not as light as a chicken, not as tough as pork. Kind of in between that.
Yeah, I would say more like a turkey. Like a dark meat turkey texture.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a little more on the tough side, but
very, very lean.
But lean and not gamey at all. Even wild rabbits, I wouldn't say are very gamey.
They don't have a lot of fat.
No. Yeah, and you're right. That's the thing.
Yeah. So, all right. So, another one we can talk about is. I love this so much. Smoked turkey and andouille gumbo. That is like the best part of Thanksgiving, I think.
Excuse me.
Because I am not a big turkey fan. But if you smoking a turkey, I'm sure take the leftovers and put it in a gumbo.
Smoked turkey makes a great gumbo. It really does.
Oh man.
Turkey makes a very good stock.
Oh.
So anything with turkey is going to make I prefer turkey stock to chicken stock.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you're making a gumbo, if you make a turkey stock, it's going to be better than your chicken stock. It's a richer flavor. It's a little more bold. It's I guess it's lighter than a duck stock, but but heavier than a chicken stock. It's more flavorful.
Yeah.
Why smoked turkey necks make a great gumbo.
Oh,
exactly.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And let me tell you, I am a believer in turkey stock now. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but man, that gumbo that we made
that was
Bridge, I can't get my mind off of it. That was, I mean, we had producers killing. I mean, it was hot. I seen the steam coming off of the bowl. They didn't care. They burned all the roof of their mouth. All of that. That gumbo was hitting, son. You understand what I'm trying to tell you?
The gumbo juice. I don't want to call it stock. Like the finished product was so silky.
It
The
was.
mouthfeel was so silky. It was that was the best gumbo hands down I ever had.
Yeah,
Was that one?
that was a that stock I made for that one. That was a roasted turkey stock. So what I did was I took turkey bones, neck bones, everything, and I just roasted that with onions and celery, a little bit of carrot, and I just roasted it really well till it gets dark. It's really brown and not burnt, like a couple shades above burnt. A few minutes longer, it would have been smoked. It would have been done. But take that, you put that with some water, and you deglaze that pan and get all those brown bits up, and then you just let that go for like 5 or 6 hours. Strain it, and it makes a beautiful stock. I mean, it sets like Jello.
Let me tell
That's
you,
what gives you that mouthfeel, that texture.
Yeah, it was just kind of like it was. I'm gonna stop.
It's a silky texture, man.
It's gonna
there's
be
nothing
real
you can
after dark if I start talking about that stock. If y'all don't know by now, Brandon D is my plug when it comes to sauces and stocks. This man is a wizard, and this stuff is fire.
Yeah, it's a good one. Making stock. I love making stocks. I just find it super fun, and I'm kind of behind on my stock making. I have to get ready for gumbo season, but making a good turkey stock, man, gosh, it makes such a good gumbo. Even if you're using chicken, even if you don't want to use turkey stock, and make your own. I'm telling you, a homemade stock, man, you'll elevate your gumbo levels. If you think your gumbo is good now, make a homemade stock, and it's going to be even better.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, we always talk about. Everybody talks about, and they're prideful of. I make my own roux. I make my own roux. Well, you know what? That's fine. But if you're not doing anything other than oil and flour, then what we talking about?
Right. That's not flavor. That's a flavor carrier.
Exactly. Like, okay, sometimes I make my own roux, but it's because I'm adding in animal fat, so I'm adding in smoke, or I'm doing different things and adding in different elements. You make your own roux. That's fine. That's cool. I'm not gonna knock you for it or anything like that. But that don't make anybody special. Making your own stock. Now we're talking about elevating something, because that is just a flavor like you can't get that out of the store.
No. And look, if you are willing to sit over a stove for an hour and a half stirring some roux, you can definitely make a stock, which is I would say about 10 times less work than making a roux. It really is. Dude, you throw some meat in the oven, you brown it, you throw it in a pot with water, you simmer it for 4 hours, and you don't even have to look at it. You just let it go. I leave beef stocks on overnight. I make sure I have enough headspace in my pot that I'm not close to the top. Put it on low, get it simmer, or it's just about 3-4 bubbles per second. Let's see, 3 or 4 bubbles, coming up every 5 seconds. A real slow simmer, and then just go to sleep. Wake up, and it's done.
Mm-hmm. Wake up hungry. You wake up hungry.
Waking up, it smells like beef stew, but it's real easy. And the greatest part about it is you can concentrate your stocks lower to where you basically boil it down to where reduce the volume and concentrate it. And then you can freeze it like that, and it's where you don't have to take up a lot of space in your freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you went to bragging rights. Let's not talk about you making your own roux. Let's talk about you making your own stock.
Yes, stock is key.
Then we can talk. You can use all the jarred roux you want, but make your own stock. That's where it really makes a difference. So, moving on. My favorite gumbo. My favorite unusual suspect gumbo that I have recently found out about in the last couple years, and I'm not going back. Steak and okra gumbo.
No.
Oh, it's the best.
All right.
Now, this is funny. This is a funny story because I recently found out that my grandmother used to make this. So my mom's mom, they ran a dairy farm, right? So when you have a cow that's not producing milk, you usually bring it to slaughter. So they would slaughter that, and she said they would make beef and okra gumbo. And I was like, I've never heard of this at all. But my mom had heard of it. She said, but yeah, we used to make it. But she said, I forgot we used to make it. It was such a long time ago. And they got rid of the cows when my mom was fairly young. So, but it's actually really good gumbo. It's one of my favorites. And KCP is not even a real big beef person, and that's her favorite gumbo.
Let me tell y'all something about these two wonderful people on this podcast right now. They made this, and Casey kept telling me about it. You got to taste this steak and the okra gumbo. You got to taste it. You got to taste it. I'm like, okay, all right, you know, people tell you that, you just, all right, you know, that's fine. When I tasted that, I was like, hey, yo, what is this, son?
It's like, where has been all my life?
I had never heard of this before in my life, but it was fire.
Oh,
Straight flames.
It hit a spot you didn't even know existed.
It was so beefy and hearty, and just like you didn't want to stop eating it. Like there's no way you could eat a whole lot of it, but
no,
but you didn't want to stop eating it. That's for sure.
But every bite is memorable.
I tell you this. Look, I say this gumbo. It satisfies a craving I didn't know I had in a way. There's ways that I didn't know was possible. So I mean, it is excellent gumbo. And we had heard about this from our friends. They said, "Oh, we make steak and okra gumbo." I was like, my mom never told me about it, so our friends told me about it. I was like, "What is that?" But that sounds awesome. They made it from us, and it was incredible.
All I remember was heating it up, and then I took a bite, and as soon as I took a bite, Alexa started playing Prince. I was trying to figure out where that music was coming from, but it was...
That is hilarious.
It wasn't Marvin Gaye?
It is just awesome. It's an awesome gumbo. It is a very rare gumbo. It's made by people who raise cattle. So that's...
Eating what you have on hand. This is what people had. Like Brandon said, how his mom, her people raised, they had a dairy farm and all this stuff. That's where it came from, out of necessity. Brandon's other grandmother, all the shrimp that they had, that's what you ate. When you have something on hand, that's what you eat,
Exactly. If you think my grandmother was buying another chicken for gumbo when she had all that shrimp in her freezer, come on, dude. Exactly. No, y'all getting some shrimp.
I can add 3 pounds of shrimp versus going by a 3-pound chicken.
Exactly. And let me tell you, nobody was complaining about that gumbo.
No.
No.
Oh, no. I'll eat shrimp way over some chicken any day. Twice on Sundays.
So, this...
I love shrimp.
It's one of my favorite foods.
So, steak and okra gumbo is basically... kind of prepared the same kind of way where you have to pre-cook your okra and then
stewed
add
okra.
it. So basically, you cook your beef down. So what did we use?
Well, you basically make a beef gravy. So you So you need to make like a Louisiana style beef gravy, which is basically just onions, meat, and water, and you just cook that down real slow. So the onions, the Trinity too. So what you need is a meat that's a tougher cut that's going to break down with connective tissue. Like you could use brisket point. You could use I think brisket flat would get too dry. Chuck roast is a good option as well.
Yes,
you could use short ribs are another fantastic option. Short ribs make a great gravy. You could use short ribs. Anything that's a slow cooking, you could use, if you want to be non-traditional, you could use beef cheeks. That would work too. So that has a lot of connective tissue in it. So it's going to make a nice, really rich gravy with a lot of gelatin in it, a nice slow cook. So you make that and you just, from Louisiana gravy perspective, how you make that is basically you're browning meat and onions together and you're getting those onions really, really caramelized and just adding water a little bit at a time to basically deglaze that. It's basically a stovetop braise. You could also do it in the oven if you want. I mean, that's fine too. So you make a really rich gravy from this braise, and then you add stewed okra, and then you just add enough liquid beef broth, homemade preferably, to turn it into a gumbo, and that's it. And then you just have to cook it for like 30 minutes just to let it kind of come together. And that's pretty much it's a very simple gumbo to make. And we use sausage in it too.
Mm-hmm.
So we use a smoked sausage.
I tell you what, you really got me thinking about those beef cheeks.
Right?
Beef cheeks are fantastic.
I've had
And
some
by the way,
smothered beef cheeks before.
Yeah, and they're not as fatty as people think they are. They do have a lot of
No.
fat, but if you trim them up, they're not. They're less fatty than a brisket point, but they have a more connective tissue than a brisket point, so they break down and they're real sticky.
They do, and they're so beefy. Like it's
very, very beefy.
Probably
It's
the most beefy. It's probably the beefiest thing on a cow. Like it's
right. I call it dark meat beef.
Yeah.
There's like the dark meat for beef. It's a beef cheek.
Yep.
So it's beefier than a brisket. It's beefier than a short rib. Beefier than cow tongue. All that. It's all beefier than that.
Hey, we definitely might need to try that.
Oh yeah, I'm down for it.
Yep. Okay, so let me kind of quiz y'all here. What are some other unusual combinations as far as protein wise? Do you think you could do something with lamb?
I never thought about having a lamb in a gumbo.
Lamb is so delicate. It's so delicate. It would almost have to be a light butter roux to me. That's the first thing that pops in my brain would be like a
Yeah, lamb can be pretty. It can be, like if you have a lot of lamb fat, it can really overtake a dish too. So it can be.
Yeah.
If I did lamb, I would pair it with okra rather than roux.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's true.
I agree.
I think it would work better as a roux okra gumbo than a roux gumbo.
So too. I think so too. Lamb does have a little gaminess to it too, depending on the cut. So I think the okra would definitely work with that better than a roux gumbo because you're already gonna have, even though barbecue brand said it's delicate, it is, but it also has a richness to it. So I think the okra would pair better than a roux.
Right. I think the acidity from now when we stew okra with tomatoes. So I think the brightness from that would really help with something like lamb, which is a really, really rich meat. I mean, very, very rich meat. So I think that combination would work a little bit better. I would make it like a beef and okra gumbo.
Yeah. I agree.
I would say so. I'm thinking about different proteins that you could put in gumbo. I'm thinking about some things that you really can't get down here. Well, you can get them, but it's very rare, like buffalo or elk.
Oh,
like an elk gumbo.
Yeah,
that would work.
It's the same, kind of the same lines as venison. That gaminess. Man, buffalo would be so good. I mean, that's some beefiness right there. That's like
it is.
That's like the pure beef.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
Yeah, you just got to get a cut that either stands up to a really long, slow cooking process, or you don't cook it as long. So you might have to. You don't want to cook lean meat for a long time. It would make it real tough. So you'd have to think. You have to really consider the meat that you have when you're making these dishes. So
I'm gonna give a shout out to my Aunt Risa up in South Dakota. You need to try that out for us since you have a little more accessibility. Accessibility to that buffalo up in there. Call me.
Right.
So what about alligator? Y'all think that would work? Some little frog legs up in there?
That probably.
Alligator is real light tasting. It's a real light meat, and it toughens up pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it's very, very lean.
That'd have to be one of those ingredients you would have to add towards the end of the cook.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
And I think you'd have to treat it like chicken. I think as far as roux is concerned, you could do it with okra as well, but I think it would be better with a roux.
Oh, hold up, wait a minute. Since this is our last installment of Gumbo, which next season we might spin the block on y'all. We might. Depending on how y'all respond to this, but
we're definitely.
I cannot let this episode go away without bringing up because you said chicken, we have to start putting our chicken in a little bit later into our cooking process of our gumbo. People, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, stop cooking chicken for hours in your gumbo, and you see little chicken worms all throughout the gumbo, all this stringy chicken. Nobody wants that, okay? Put your chicken in later, all right? We want chunks of chicken in our gumbo. We don't want strings of chicken in our gumbo, all right? Thank you.
And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, Well, the bone part is really important. That gives you the flavor. Look, this is why we make a homemade stock. So by using the homemade stock, I am basically eliminating the need to cook chicken in my gumbo for hours.
Right.
There's no need. It's already there.
You've already extracted all of that flavor.
Exactly.
Right.
So I just use, for me, the chicken. I just use boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I pre-cook those and I add it at the absolute end. The chicken flavor is already in there with the stock. Doesn't need to be cooked on the bone for hours.
Oh, and let me say something else too. I got some bones to pick with y'all.
No, there you go, man.
Let me tell you something. And I'm gonna chop this up. I'm gonna chop this up, and this is gonna be a short right
Fine,
here.
dice it for it, brother. Fine, dice it.
All of this talk, this podcast started. This is our 9th episode. All of this talk, all of these pictures, all of these memes that y'all have been seeing about roux color, that came from us. All right. We started this summer. We made 2023 hot talking about roux color. That started with stirring the pot. I want y'all to understand that.
Why is this podcast getting feisty?
No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Next time you look at a meme, next time you look at a picture, think about us. We started that. Now,
dang, you're right over there. You need a fan?
we might need to start this episode all the way over. This might need to be a 2-hour episode. I got some things to talk to y'all about.
Yeah, need some water, man. Need to cool off a little bit.
Yeah, let me get a little something. Let me get a little sip right now.
Get that boy a towel.
It's nice. I'm gonna give people from out of state advice. If you're cooking gumbo for the first time, never ever post a picture of your gumbo and put it on any Louisiana. It's not gonna end well for you, man.
Don't do it.
They will rat shit you to death over that. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is ask. Well, you didn't do this. You didn't do that. Whatever, man.
That's like me sending a video to Michael Jordan of me doing layups in the backyard. Who cares, bro?
Yeah.
Like Mike,
right.
I'm gonna say, Mike, I'm about to take you to the rack. 1-on-1.
Oh my gosh. So let me just put this out there. If there's anybody listening that, is unsure of their gumbo game, right? Hit us up. We would love to coach you through this. We would love to give you pointers. We would love to. Please interact with us. We are your friends. Yeah. You don't have. You can post confidently on these Louisiana forums or pages or whatever after you talk to us.
Look,
that's all it is. We're here to help you.
I'll tell you. I'll start off with help right now. 1, gumbo is not a hard dish to make.
It's not.
It's not. You have to follow a particular set of rules in order to be successful at it. One is you have to cook a roux gumbo for a long time. There's no way around it. But the thing about it is it's an easy cook. I mean, you put the roux in the water and you simmer it for 4 hours, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing more to that. I mean, as far as cook time, you use onions, you use celery, you use bell pepper, you use green pepper. I use poblano. I don't care what people say. I don't like green peppers. Poblanos are better. So whatever, you can if you think I'm wrong using that, we can have an argument about it. We can talk about it. And I can convince you that I'm right. So I don't care. I don't care if you think I'm wrong. Go ahead and think I'm wrong. I don't give a shit. I honestly don't. Another thing. I use shallots in gumbo. Shoot me. I'm tired. Look, I've studied a lot about cooking, and this is not like something that I just do on the side. This is a passionate thing I do. I study it. I read books on it. I follow people that, I read blogs by people that cook and, look at their methodology for doing things. It's a serious thing for me. And I don't do anything just out of the blue. This stuff is well thought out.
Preach.
And I tell you, that's just how it is. Gumbo is not hard, people. It's not a hard thing to do. You just have to follow the rules. You have to cook it right. If you're not sure about making roux, buy jarred roux. It doesn't matter that much. No. Your stock is going to make your gumbo shine more than your roux. You can argue that to death, whatever. You make a great stock, you make a 100. Great gumbo. If you have good roux, a great stock, you can make a good gumbo.
It's like I say all the time. I'm not telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know.
Exactly.
And we know, I know because I've done.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
This is not me saying I cook gumbo all the time. I mean, we you know, and it's a process. I mean, my first gumbo wasn't the greatest. I mean, I'll be honest, it wasn't wrong, but it was way too thick. I didn't know what I was doing, and you know,
he is 100% correct on that.
Way too thick, way too thick. But my mom came and fixed it. She saved the day with some hot water.
Yeah, go back and watch Roux Your Daddy Part 2. We talk all about that. We talk about breaking down starch molecules and why you cook gumbo as long as you do and all of those different things. So go back and check the previous episodes. We'll have a lot of gems in our episodes. So we're just here to tell you, we're talking a lot of noise tonight. Tonight we're feeling a little froggy, all right? We're talking a lot of noise, but it's just like KCP said, just talk to us. We will help you take your stuff to the next level.
Yeah, we won't judge you.
Nope.
Right. At least not right away. No, I'm just kidding.
Judgment-free zone here. We don't judge people.
No, we won't. We will help you. If you want help, we will help you for sure. We will give you pointers. Listen to our podcast, you know, or just reach out to us. We would love to interact.
And like I said, there will be definitely videos coming of us cooking things. Gumbo will be one of them. You know, it's just, you know, hey, look, this is just the beginning, man. We're just getting kicked off here, so we gotta take some time to develop some stuff.
Absolutely. So yes. So with that being said, and everybody calm down a little bit.
I don't care.
I'm gonna read a quote, and this comes from Julia Child. So Julia Child, yes, a legend. If you don't know, you should look her up. Julia Child said, "The only real stumbling block is fear of failure. In cooking, you've got to have a what the hell attitude."
There you go.
Very true.
Very true. So I thought that was very fitting, even though I didn't even know we were going to end the episode like this. Perfect. So anyway, we want to thank y'all for joining us. And as always, please like, comment. What is that music?
Just took a little bite of that steak and okra gumbo.
Little Prince. There you go.
That boy is silly. All right. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. If you want any pointers, like I said. But thank you. Thank you again for joining us and for watching everything. And we appreciate all of you. So with that being said, we want to thank y'all. Good night. Keep stirring the pot.
Love y'all. Peace.
All right. You have a good night. Thanks for listening in.